Welcome to Messy Liberation, the podcast that dives deep into feminism, business, and personal growth. I'm Becky Mollenkamp.
And I'm Taina Brown. Get ready for another messy conversation through the eyes of two intersectional feminist coaches.
Let's get messy.
Morning.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks.
Is that okay to share?
That is okay to share. It's our wedding anniversary.
How many?
8 years.
Oh, we almost got married at nearly the same time. I'm barely ahead of you because we're having our 9th anniversary next month.
Really? Okay.
Congratulations to us all for, I don't know, successfully coupling for
Yeah.
And by the way, people can't tell I'm still recovering from this ridiculous cold that's been going on for 3 weeks. So sorry if my voice is a little annoying today.
You have sexy throaty voice.
Well, you might say that. I don't know if I think it's that, but hey, whatever. My husband just said
Does your husband think it's sexy?
He thinks it's quite masculine, quite deep, I should say. Not so sexy, but that's okay.
But you're feeling better, though.
I am very much on the mend. I have more energy. The cough won't go. And my son has also had this. Who gave it to me. He's had it at least 2 or 3 weeks longer than I have. Just the cough, and some crud.
Yeah.
It's fine. And I'm afraid I may be in for this cough for a while.
Well, no.
Anyway, it's okay.
Yeah. Is it the cough that's making your voice and throat scratchy?
Yeah, I have a deep, this cough that sometimes is productive, a lot of times isn't. And it's just exhausting when you need to. Anyway, but that's okay. We don't have to talk about me being sick because that's boring. Although we don't know what we're going to talk about. So
we don't. We're just kind of winging it today.
Anything on your mind right now?
Well, I have been seeing a lot of Taylor Swift content because she, I guess a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago.
I think it was just last week.
Yeah, released The Life of a Showgirl. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that sounds right. It's her new album. And it's getting some harsh critique from what I've seen online.
Yes.
I've seen that it's a bit derivative of Sabrina Carpenter, who I also don't know, so can't say. And that maybe I've seen even some Swiftie adjacent. Her cult people, I think it wouldn't matter. It's like Trump. It doesn't matter what she does. They're going to follow her down that and say and defend and support. But I've seen some of those people who are maybe not as hardcore who are like, this isn't really that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also I saw that she's already, a week after releasing that, has released some special printing something that was available for a day. The woman is a grifter. Yeah, come at me, Swifties. I mean, it's just, how much more do you need? How much more money do you need that you have to release with everything? I looked at her website because I was just curious. There's a special mug that's just for this album and a special sweatshirt. And I get people want to buy things to show their support and that they care. But it's she's always having to release some special version of the thing that and they're creating all this FOMO amongst her culty people that if they don't buy it, they're going to be left out. And I just don't believe that she is compensating all involved in the production of all the things in a way that is.
Yeah. It really brings to mind conversations about manufactured urgency.
Oh, for sure.
And the greed of the billionaire class, right? It's we were watching the news the other morning and, well, my wife watches the news. I just kind of hang around. And if I'm in the same room, then I'm also watching the news.
You're at least hearing it.
Right. But they do CBS morning deals or something like that, where they highlight different products every morning. And the products that they were highlighting that day were from John Legend and Chrissy Teigen. And so she has it's box cake, box cookie mixes or whatever, but better quality. It's actually not bad. I've tried a few. And then apparently he has a skincare, body care.
He seems to have nice skin.
Yeah. But, and listen, I love John Legend and Chrissy Teigen, but I'm also every time celebrities come out with something new, I'm what else are you going to monopolize?
How many more alcohol brands do they enough, right? And then they just find the next thing. Skincare is definitely one of those where they love to be a part of it. Alcohol.
Fragrances.
Yeah.
It's leave some for the rest of us. What about the people who this is really their passion, or this is what they went to school for, or
celebrity worship is really something, isn't it?
It is. And I'm just It's the celebrity worship along with like celebrities who feel like they have to have their hand in everything.
Mhm.
And it's like, I'm all for people exploring interests and hobbies, but that's not what this is.
No, it's a cash grab.
Yeah, like you're monopolizing an entire industry because of and people are going to buy it because of your name, right? Because of the
Right,
brand
because the cult of
recognition.
personality, right? The
Yeah.
celebrity fascination that we seem to have. And yeah, it's bizarre to me. I mean, John Legend, and again, same as you, I have nothing that I object like, I don't know enough about that couple to have anything particularly negative to say. I think from what I can tell, Chrissy Teigen seems to try to use her social media platform for some pretty good social causes and all of that. But, like, his passion, I don't know about her. I think she was a model, so that may be a little
Yeah.
different, I don't know. But with him, his passion is music, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's what he was put on this earth to do. It's what he's amazing at. He seems to actually really love that. Him being a judge on one of those shows, like, that's
Voice. Yeah.
logical, that makes sense. If he
Yeah.
was gonna sell a line of pianos, okay, I kinda get that, like, not that I think
Yeah.
he needs to, but okay. But, like, why? Why do you need to put yourself
Have
into
a skincare brand.
you might have nice skin, maybe you enjoy that, but, like, is that your zone of genius just because you happen to have nice skin? Or, like, I don't know, at some point and how many zones of genius
Can
does
you
anyone
have?
need to have,
Yeah.
right?
And
Like,
the
is it
thing
not
is,
enough to dominate one space,
yeah.
you now have to try and
Yeah.
dominate
Yeah.
6? Like, I don't
Yeah.
quite get it.
Yeah. The thing for me is like, even if it is your zone of genius, like, don't you have enough?
Right, or support, could it not
Or
look
support
like
someone else's
yeah,
brand. Like
right,
be an investor in someone else's brand, right?
right,
Like a black creator or
yeah.
black scientist or something. And it's just like I
Or
just
what
every
is enough?
time.
What's enough, Taina? This is an interesting discussion too, I think, because in capitalism, we're never encouraged to explore enough, right? Capitalism is always about more and faster. How can you get more now? Elon Musk just topped 500 billion in wealth. That's just happened. And it's happening at this rapid clip. And when we look at the difference between 300 billion and 500 billion, I don't think people can even begin to wrap their brain around the difference because it sounds like, well, the difference between $300 and $500 is not that
It's
much.
not.
This is astronomical amounts of wealth to go from 300 billion, which is already an outlandish, like incomprehensible number.
Yeah.
That going to 500 billion is even more. And that's only happened in the last few years. Like he's accumulating wealth at the most outrageous clip that in a way that we cannot comprehend. And that has happened so quickly. I think we are normalizing it in a way because capitalism is like how much, how quick. And it's so like a part of our like
Yeah.
ethos, the way
Our
we're born.
psyche.
Yeah, that we just no one ever encourages people to ask about enough. In fact, so much so that if you do, because I do this with clients, I'm sure you maybe do some of the same sort of things where we talk about, it's like, let's think about what's enough. When you do that with people, their reaction is, I don't want to settle. I don't want to fail, right? By accepting less. Enough is a word that should mean everything I need, right? That's enough.
Everything you could need or want. Yeah.
Right, I got it all. It's now enough. But instead, we have taken that word that actually should mean abundance, and we have made it into less. The
Scarcity.
definition has changed to a place where we now think of it as failure, as not enough, as like settling, as less than. It's it is mind-boggling. So no one sits around and asks themselves, how much do I actually need? What's enough? There
Yeah.
is no enough inside of capitalism. And I just think we see that playing out with celebrities who and again, this like wealthy class just keeps getting more and more wealthy. And then we sit around as the people, as the have-nots, instead of rebelling against that, saying, well, I don't want enough.
Yeah.
So why would I ask them to have enough? And if I tell
Yeah.
them they have to settle for enough, that means I'm saying I have to settle, quote unquote, settle for enough. And I never want that. I want to be able to
Yeah.
have more and more and more. And so
Yeah.
we just keep shooting ourselves in the foot. Like everyone should be fucking revolting in the streets that one human being has $500 billion.
Yeah. During a time when the economy is in crisis, there is an ongoing genocide in Palestine. There's an ongoing war in Ukraine.
There's a war on our home turf.
Yeah.
President Trump has now threatened to put into jail elected officials who have done nothing wrong except trying to obey the actual laws of this land, which say states get to govern themselves. That is very much the fabric of what America was built on. The states' rights Republicans are now fighting that, saying, no, they disagree with our new leader of this land, who we now say is a king, and so they should be put in jail. They want to put Pritzker and the mayor of Chicago. He has publicly said they should be in jail for disagreeing with him, for not allowing him to come in with federal troops or, federalized state troops from other states. Like, we now have states invading states. Texas is invading Illinois. Like, that's what's happening. It's literally like a civil war.
Yeah.
And that stuff is happening right here, right now.
Yeah.
Along with the fact that, I don't know about you, but and I've seen universally people this year going into next year, health insurance rates are skyrocketing. For many people, as much as doubling. That's very much the case in my family.
Yeah.
Not to mention food prices, as we talked about before.
Our grocery bill has doubled over the past few years.
Absolutely, right? Since COVID, and because of corporate greed, which has been proven. It is not because of inflation. It is not because of rising costs of, downstream costs. It is literally because of corporate greed.
Yeah.
They saw an opportunity. There are tapes you can go and hear these CEOs saying, we have now customized people to paying more. We can continue to do that so that we continue to make more.
Yeah.
And we're all I think it's because it's like, what do they talk about where you're being drowned by the hose? Like you're drinking from a hose.
From a fire hydrant.
From a fire hose, right? And we are so drowning in all of it. It's like, and I think we've talked about, you and I talked a little bit about this yesterday too, of I don't even know. I think we're not alone in, I don't even fucking know where to look or what to do. Because of that fire hose, I can't even catch my breath, let alone think about what are the steps I can take, because it's coming from so many places.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you even start? What do you even do? And when you are in that place, when you're drinking from the fire hose, you just want to shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to buy Taylor Swift's album. How about that?
I literally just shut down.
Exactly, right. I know. And I don't have any answers. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the reality of what we're living in. And it's how, speaking of messy liberation, because I do believe, I keep coming back to this, and I don't know if you're still there. I do believe that all of this will eventually be in service of something really, really important. I do believe with that MLK belief that the arc of justice bends. It's long, but it bends in the right direction. We will get, all of this is in service of progress.
Yeah.
As hard as that can feel to believe in the moment, right? In the same way that I can only imagine in World War II and people living in occupied places then and feeling like this cannot be in the service of anything better. We do see that over time it was ultimately in service of something better, right?
Yeah.
Ridding ourselves at that time of fascism. Here we are again. But I do think that is where we're going. But when you are in the thick of it, in the messy middle of it, right?
It's hard to see that.
It's hard to believe it sometimes. It's hard to see it. And then it's hard to focus and even just working, and even this podcast, which already feels a little scattershot. But that's kind of where my brain's at literally every day. I wake up every day. I don't know about you, but I feel that way every day, where I'm like,
what do I do? Where do I look?
What am I supposed to do? And then it's oh yeah, but remember those insurance costs and those grocery bills and that child that I love who deserves to eat. I have to figure this shit out.
Yeah.
And also, what the fuck?
Yeah. 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 It makes me think of the Hunger Games.
I just saw somebody else talking about Katniss. Who were they equating to Katniss? Oh, that's funny. I don't remember, but somebody on social media was going around talking about Katniss and that she would be disgusted by the way we are all. That was what it was. It was sort of Katniss would be disgusted with us right now. That we're all this sort, because we are. What was the bad people in those movies? What were they called? The Capitol Guard, or I don't remember. Do you remember the name?
They live in the Capitol.
Yeah. So we're Capitol, basically he's saying we're all kind of the Capitol folks now, claiming online, talking about how we want to be Katnisses, but really just still kind of showing up as Capitol dwellers.
Yeah. Yeah. Showing up in costume, basically.
Yeah.
pretending like everything is okay. Yeah, no, I think, when people think about like obviously the world wars and like fascism and things like that, and I think we've talked about this last week where it's like people think about the end part of
We
that.
talked about this yesterday, just you and I.
Oh,
It'd be good to
that was
talk about,
yesterday.
yeah.
Gosh, the conversations are starting to run together. But it's like, but that's not the entirety of it. When you look at books and films like The Hunger Games that are like dystopian and post-apocalyptic, like that's the climax of it, the
Right
end,
before the big
before the big, yeah,
saving. Yeah.
before the big pivot, before the tipping point. But like everything that leads up to it is a part of that, right? Like people think of fascism as like and dystopianism as like a singular point in time, but
And
the
then it happens
reality is
like it goes from everything's good to
all of a sudden everything is bad.
almost like there
Yeah.
is that nuclear bomb that drops. But that's
Right.
not the reality of what this looks like.
No, the reality is that it's a process. Like it's a multi-step process to get to that. Like it's a journey.
It's like slow and
Not
all at once, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. And
We are
so
in
it's
the
like we're
slow.
there.
Well, except we're not even to the, like, we are there, but we're not to the place where people recognize it as
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, because by the time you recognize it as there, holy shit, you're in real, like, I mean,
Real
we're
trouble.
talking about marching people into death camps, like, and everything that we sort of think of, like, specifically around Nazi Germany and thinking about, Nazism and the conclusion of that right before, liberation came. We're not there. But once you're there, you're beyond fucked, right?
Yeah.
Like but we're many steps
Yeah.
towards that, like many,
Yeah.
many, many. And it's ramping up at such an accelerated pace that it's terrifying to me. Because again,
Yeah.
let's remind everyone, we are 10 months, 9 months, actually, 9
Yeah.
months into this administration.
Not even halfway.
Not even close to halfway, not even a quarter. We're not even a quarter of the way through this administration. And
Fuck.
that is if, in theory, we are allowed any sort of semblance of a legal vote, which I don't actually think will happen in 4 years. I
Yeah.
think next year, potentially, right? Maybe we're not so far gone that the midterms could be somewhat unencumbered. But I mean,
Mhm.
we've seen the gerrymandering that's happening. We know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try and get rid of mail-in voting. And the
Mhm.
disenfranchisement
Mhm.
that's already happening is out of control. So to think that we're gonna have what we always look at in the case of like a Putin or, places where they pretend to have elections, but with, there's the outcome is already a foregone conclusion. I think we look at those things and think that won't happen here. Our systems will save us, but the systems are already failing.
'Cause they're run by the people who
Are in control. And they're not supposed to be. I think that we think that our systems were infallible.
they're
Right?
not.
Because again, we go to that American exceptionalism. We think that we are some exception, that somehow it'll all save, but that's not true, right?
Yeah.
Because all it takes is for exactly what's happening, one man to say, "Yeah, I hear you, judges, but I don't care. I'm not gonna do what you said." And
Yeah.
it falls apart. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what's happening right now. Because that three-pronged system, once one prong says we aren't gonna listen to the others,
The whole thing falls apart.
and that's exactly what's happening. And I think so many people are still believing that something's gonna magically shift and change and save us, and it's not. But so then,
No,
like,
like
okay, that's all the
we have
scary.
to be the ones to save us.
Yeah. So what does that look like? And I think that's the stuff that, and I do feel like there is some amount of wash, rinse, repeat with our show in a way, but I also think it's just because that's where we all
It's
are.
iteration.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not wash, rinse, repeat. I mean, it is, but it's because it's iteration.
I
So
love that.
like you're not necessarily doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're doing the same thing over again and then adding on or taking away, right? Like you're iterating. So you're fine tuning, you're honing, you're
Yeah.
smoothing, you're carving away, you're building. And as you do that, like it expands, it becomes expansive. And so I think where people get lost is where they feel like they're on a hamster wheel
Mhm.
because they're not doing the work of figuring out what changes to make and what pivots to make, or they're just not paying attention. They're just not doing anything at all. And
Because
so
we've
they
shut
look
down.
around and it
Yeah.
feels like a hamster wheel
Yeah.
as opposed to an iteration.
Well, I love that. And thank you, because it feels like we're asking the same questions without real answers in a way over and over again. But I think in the asking of the questions, like you said, slowly through that process, it allows us to become more expansive in our thinking and to find answers that previously we thought weren't there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you're not asking the questions again and again, then you're not
You're not
allowing.
to get the answers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we don't have the answers. Like,
No one does.
every single person has to ask those questions for themselves. Like, we can't give someone, like, I can't give you answers for St. Louis the same way you can't give me answers for Baltimore. Like, we have to be able to, in our own local environment, ask ourselves those questions. And I think people assume that, like, the answers are at the high level, but really the answers are at the very, very local level, like your neighbors, your county, your state, your city, right? Like, that's where the iterations need to happen. Because that's how expansion happens. Like, it starts small. Like, you can't start big and expect its expansion. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Well, obviously, we can't look at a top-down approach because the threat is coming from the top, right? So
Yeah.
you're right. Like, we have to invert that completely and think about. And the truth is, when we are in a system of hierarchy like we have in America, that pyramid,
Yeah.
the beauty of it is that if we flip it on its head, the pyramid at the top is small, right? And it gets
Yeah.
bigger as it goes down. So when we flip it on its head and say we're starting at the bottom, we actually have numbers, right? When you look at that pyramid, suddenly when you flip it on the bottom, the
Yeah.
masses is where the numbers are. And we
Yeah.
start to look at the threat being at the top. It actually, in some ways, can make me feel a little better because I'm like, yeah, the threat is small. Right? It's just
Yeah.
the top of that pyramid that's the threat. The bulk of this is not the threat. We are the people who
Yeah.
are saying no. And I see more and more, like Alaska just elected a Democrat mayor in some city that hadn't done it in over a decade, right? Like and I've seen more and more. There was a Democrat elected in Iowa in a place that hadn't for a while. And not that I think Democrats are the answers or that elections are even the answers, but I do see at those more local level races, people are saying, we're done. Even if you
Yeah.
aren't Trump, right? And you don't have that kind of power, we don't want to introduce those ideas into our community.
Yeah.
And I do think it's important to remember, like, your school board matters,
Yeah.
right?
Those are gatekeepers, right? At
Yes.
the local level, those are the gatekeepers that are going to keep out or bring in that 1% that's at the top of the pyramid that feels so threatening. But again, it's 1%. 1%, right? And so we have to pay attention. We have to focus our energy on who are the gatekeepers in our local communities. Like, those are the people that we have to hold accountable, that we have to make sure that their values are for the people that they're overseeing or governing, and not
Yeah.
the way things are looking in Washington right now.
Well, I mean, look at what's happening. I think what's happening in Illinois, and specifically Chicago, because it's not even Illinois, it's in Chicago, is I'm excited to watch what continues to happen there with the way Pritzker's showing up, but also with the way the mayor of Chicago is showing up, right? And they're doing things in that very small, I mean, Chicago's a big city, but still, we're not talking a national, federal sort of issue here. We're talking about one community out of hundreds of millions of Americans. We're talking tens of millions, right? So it is a small fraction of this bigger national population, where they're saying we're creating ice-free zones. We're saying ICE isn't welcome here, where you're seeing them actually say, no, you cannot, to Kristi Noem, you can't come into this building. You're not allowed in here, right? Where they're putting up and supported by the local government, the people in charge, those gatekeepers, but at that very local level saying, no, here's how we're going to push back. And that may come to a head. But they've also then got Pritzker behind them saying, I'm also here supporting you. Put us in jail. Let's push these issues and actually see where the rest of America then starts to show up. But we're doing it at that local level. And like, again, I think because, my kid's in school and it's a issue near and dear to my heart, but like school boards, just because that's one of those, I think it's an election a lot of people skip. I think it's something a lot of people don't think about. If you don't have kids, I know before I had kids, I rarely thought about it.
Yeah.
And yet, what's more important than our the future generations of leaders, right? And what they are being exposed to in school, what they're being taught in school, what's being allowed to happen inside of their schools or not happen. And locally in St. Louis, we've had some school boards, quite a few, that have been taken over by moms of liberty, right-wing extremism thinking. And then that starts to translate into what it is and is not being taught in schools, whether they're allowed to put up pride, flags in their classroom or something that even
programming where money
right,
is spent. Yeah.
exactly, all of
Yeah.
that. And my school district continues to resist those people. They keep running. We keep showing up in numbers and saying no. But neighboring districts, literally next door districts, have not done that. And it's just that reminder that like showing up and saying, this may be happening everywhere. I may live in a red state. I may live in a red county. I may have people on my neighbors a few miles away who are saying we're here to support that, but we are saying no. This area, we continue to band together to say these are our values, and we are going to fight to protect them all the way down to this level, and then continuing out from there into then who represents us on the county board, who represents us in the federal government, but as a rep, right? Like the places where my vote can actually still make a difference, where it hasn't yet been completely tainted, although I've been gerrymandered. My vote in Missouri, as you may know, we're having the same gerrymandering. It already happened. It's being fought in the courts, but we'll see what happens. The same thing that happened in Texas, where and my district is one of those that was affected by the new gerrymandered rules. I had previously been gerrymandered out of a district into Cori Bush's at the time, who we love. Like, Cori, she's running again. I can't fucking wait. I was gerrymandered into her district because our area had gotten too liberal. So they put a bunch of us in there to ensure that Ann Wagner, who's a piece of shit, could hold on to power because she was losing. She was going to lose. They had to move more of us into this district that's actually St. Louis City. I don't live in St. Louis City. I live in St. Louis County. Like the lines were clear, just drawn like, hey, you guys are getting too liberal. You go over here.
Yeah.
We've now been drawn back because now they're afraid that Cori Bush could win, right? So they're putting us back, plus then giving Ann a bunch of other people who are more conservative to make sure that Ann continues to hold her vote, but that Cori has fewer people, if she can win re-election, that she'll represent. So I'm fighting the ways I can.
Yeah.
My brain is fried also, so I know I just totally went on a loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You got me fired up.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we talked about what is enough and also just the fact that like everything is like everything.
Everything is everything.
And just like how do you iterate? Like, how do you hold on to that hope? And I think it takes me back to conversations we had at the beginning of this administration. That's the word I was looking for. You have to be able to, on an individual level, figure out, what are the small things that I'm going to focus my energy on? Like you can't drink out of the fire hydrant or out of the fire hose, whatever the fucking metaphor is. Like you can't, like, it's just not possible. That's what they're trying to make us believe that we have to do, right? They're throwing everything at us for a reason, right? It's to create overwhelm. It's to create distraction. It's to zap energy, to, disenfranchise people by making them broke and exhausted and overwhelmed and whatever. And so what do we do? Like, okay, well, you walk away from the fire hose and you figure out what's like the one or two issues. Like maybe if you're a parent, maybe it is school board elections, right? If you're an older, person and your kids are at the house and maybe you're an empty nester, maybe it's policing, right? Sheriff elections, if they're elected in your county or your state or whatever. Maybe it's city council, right? Maybe it's healthcare, like whatever the case may be, like find one or two things that you decide for yourself that. And I think that's so key here. It's like choosing for yourself. Like so much of what's happening is meant to make us feel like we don't have a choice for ourselves, that our agency is being stripped away, our power is being stripped away. But the singular act of just choosing for yourself is a reminder, right, that like, no, you do have some power here, right? And that it may not be on the same level as like what's being thrown at you from the people who are throwing all this shit at us, but But we do have some power here. And part of taking back that power is choosing for yourself what are the one or two issues that I want to focus on, and how am I going to focus on those one or two issues, and
Right.
who are the people that I need to align myself with to focus on those one or two issues, and how much time, right? Like setting those parameters for yourself is a really powerful thing to engage in.
Well, and I think that goes back to that we reference all the time, but Deepa Iyer's social change map and looking at the different ways that we can show up. Because it's also like, it's not even just and I think you sort of alluded to this too, because it's not just the one or two things that you care about, but also like, what are the ways that you're going to show up around that thing? So for some people, it might look like voting is the thing they do because that's where
Hmm.
they have their resource to have capacity. It works with their life. If you're working 3 jobs to survive right now, just getting out to vote because we don't even
It's a
support,
thing.
right?
That's a
That may
big
be it.
deal.
It might look like volunteering for a campaign. It might look like showing up to some of these marches and protesting. For me, it also looks like using my voice. Like I was wearing my "ICE can get fucked" shirt yesterday around town and being out in public saying, like, being clear about this is how I feel, and having that the thing that I like about for me that showing up that way is like, then I get people who validate or who also feel like inspired to use their voice to say, I agree with you, where they might
Hmm.
not have otherwise, right? But whatever your way of showing up is, figuring out what works for you because we can't all do all the things. But one thing I do think we can all think about, going back to Taylor Swift at the beginning of this, trying to make it all sort of work together, is let's not forget the power of the purse and or wallet, but like not forgetting that our money matters and where we spend it. Also, like, all of the caveats of, like, if you gotta use Amazon because that's what works for your life because you're disabled or whatever the reasons are, you live rural and you don't have other options, like, okay. But figuring out the places, where can I say, "I'm not gonna putting my money behind this,"
Yeah.
right? Figuring out those things. I don't personally, the Jimmy Kimmel thing, like, I find him to be problematic in a lot of ways. I don't think that was the big issue that we needed to all get
Yeah.
behind. However,
Yeah.
it did show us when we collectively say, we're gonna withhold money from you corporate bigwigs, you CEOs
Hmm.
who don't care about us, we can make a difference. They
Hmm.
caved immediately. I mean, it was within 24 hours of people canceling
Hmm.
because they saw, "Oh shit, this is gonna cost us real money." They made a different decision,
Yeah.
right? And we can do that in other ways. We see it happening with Target. Target stocked price because I bought before everything that happened, by the way, so I know this well. I bought like 1 share, so I only have 1 share of Target. I would love to sell it, but now I would be taking a giant hit. Like, it's just sitting there. But I've noted stock price because of it, and because of the boycotts that are going on, their stock price has halved in a year. Halved in a
Mm.
year. They will be having to make changes because of that. They can't continue, right?
Yeah.
So these things matter. Costco is its business has boomed at the same time that Target's
Yeah.
has gone down. We are making those choices and we can continue to think about how we make those choices. Do we need to give Taylor Swift another 30 of our hard-earned dollars so that she can make and add to her now? I think she's already over 2 billion. Remember when she just hit a billion? She's already doubled that. And again, if you don't understand how much a billion is, go look.
Go
Going
look.
from
Yeah.
going from 1 billion to 2 billion is not like going from $1 to $2. It is an astronomical leap, and she's done that in the space of
Like
a
I can't
year.
even wrap my head around it.
Right, and she's done it in the space of a year or 2. Do we need to continue to support wealth hoarding, greed, unabashed greed, grifting? Instead of saying that same $30, could I put it to mutual aid? Can I do something for myself if I need to? That's also okay, right? But could I fund some sort of mutual aid? Could I put it towards something in my local community that's making a difference? Could I help a family that is trying to evade ICE in my local community? What are the
Mhm.
things I can do
Mhm.
with the same $30 instead of continuing to just give it to yet again a billionaire who's just trying to amass more and more wealth? You
Yeah.
can love her music, but you don't need the album twice just because she made a
Yeah.
song
Just
and say,
because it's a different color. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Right? If we could just start to see that for what it is, like, it makes me so angry. And it's not just her, and then her fans will start getting like, "Why are we going after the women billionaire?" Like, I'm after all of them. I'm after
Yeah.
all of them. I'm also
Yeah.
after Beyoncé, but I'm also after every man who's
Yeah.
amassing wealth. Like, all of them. We don't need that let them eat cake class.
Yeah. Ugh.
I know. I know.
No,
I know. Can you even fathom that level of wealth?
I can't. Like when
And why?
Listen, when we watch House Hunters and people are like, our budget is 1.5 million, like I can't even fathom that amount of wealth. I'm just like, how are you spending that much money on a house?
I
And then
always
I'm
wonder, where are
thinking,
you getting it from?
what is the upkeep for a house that costs that much? Like, what are your monthly utility bills?
Well, I
Like,
know
what's your
because
grocery bill? Like,
in my
who's doing the
family,
cleaning? Who's doing the yard work? Like, Jesus fucking Christ, that's a lot.
I can tell you because I have very close exposure within my family to someone who bought $1 million home, a McMansion, and with a pool and all the stuff, right? They have 7 bathrooms for a family.
Who's cleaning 7 fucking
For a
bathrooms?
family of 4, 2 of whom have now left the home because they're now in college. So for a family of 2, a couple, they have 7 bathrooms and a giant in-ground pool and all the stuff, right? They have to hire cleaners. They're constantly having to pay for things like they're getting a new roof today. We all have to do that. But like just the same upkeep that you and I have times square footage times 10, right?
Yeah.
For what? For
Yeah.
what? And guess
Our
what?
new roof was like almost $10,000. I can't imagine how much a new roof is for
Right.
a house that large.
Right. And guess what ends up happening? And, I think that they're having at least half of that couple, and maybe both, but definitely half, are experiencing the thing that I think happens to a lot of those people, which is all of this. So what was it all
What was the
for?
point?
What
Yeah.
was it for? They're gone now. Like those few years they were there, the kids had parties and stuff. I'm sure it was great. They could have done the same thing in the house they were in before, which by the way was also gorgeous and huge, just didn't have the pool. But like, okay. And for what? Now it's like, now we have all this upkeep, all this work. Some of it we can outsource.
Yeah.
Some of it we're doing ourselves. And like, did it really fill whatever we thought it was going to?
Yeah.
Probably not. But like, we all are made to believe it will. So like, I can also see that part of it where there are my moments too, and I'm sure you have them, where I
Yeah.
think money is the answer to all of my problems. Money is the answer to some of my problems.
Some problems. Yeah.
And that's absolutely
Sure.
a fact. But I can get caught up in the like, oh, if I had a pool, I've had those thoughts. I would love my own in-ground pool because, whatever. But do I really need one? Do I really want that
Yeah.
upkeep when I see what it actually looks like?
Yeah.
No. And I think about the same thing, like if every room in my house was like a little bigger, or if I had, I can start to get in that same game where I'm like, if I just had this and this and this, that's going to somehow fill
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I know that the truth is it won't.
Yeah.
Not having to worry about money, not having to be stressed constantly about how will we pay the bills, that is different.
Yeah.
And that would solve a lot for me. But like the more and more stuff, I know it's not going to do anything. Like even though sometimes it's hard, and those like when you're in that daydream to believe, no, it won't really make me happier. The truth is, what makes me happy is like those moments that my kid snuggles up with me, and we could do that on the side of the road or in my car if we had to, right? Like that's not what I want, but those are like when I think about the things that actually bring joy in my life. It's rarely because my car is like, we just upgraded cars because our 20-year-old car finally we had to get and it's a new used car. We upgraded from a 20-year-old to a 10-year-old car. So like, please know, like I'm not living some lavish life.
Yeah.
That change was nice. Like the new car, I can actually like plug in my phone instead of just like we were listening to CDs on my other car because that's how outdated it was. It's nice, but does it actually make me happier? Not really, because the thing that brings me joy in my car is the conversations I have with my kid. We had those same conversations in the other car, and it was great.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we all need to sit down and ask ourselves that enough.
What is enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is enough? Yeah. And because here's the thing, like if you can afford the $1.5 million house and the upkeep and it is what you need, what you want, like it's values aligned, you're not doing it out of some like misplaced desire for like belonging or status or whatever. Like, fuck it, then go for it. By all means, buy the $1.5 million house, pay for the upkeep. I like nice things. Like I'm not a person who's like, no, we need to be like, shabby and like, and this like misplaced sense of like humility and like puritanical like poverty or whatever. The thing is like, what is the motivation there? Like, what is the intention? Is it for status? Is it for, feeling like once I get this thing, then I'll have this sense of like achievement or whatever. Like that's where we get shit fucked up. And it's like, no, like you should want those things and get those things for yourself. because from a place of like feeling whole, not from a place of like feeling like there's something missing in your life.
Yeah. Have you watched White Lotus? Do you?
No, I can't. I
I
can't.
totally get it. We're
It
watching it.
feels very gratuitous.
It's this new season, which is not even new by now, but we're just finishing it. Whatever. Like last night I was saying, like, there's no redeeming qualities about almost anyone in any of the cast, right? Like the characters. They're just the most grotesque humans.
Yeah.
And you're just watching, like, I'm not fully sure I understand why I'm even watching it. But okay, that aside, there is a moment in the new season, though, and I think it was episode 7, if anyone wants to see. It's Parker Posey, and she is part of this super wealthy family. We find out he's like losing all the money, gonna go to prison. He's wrestling with what to do with that. But they have 3 grown kids who are also accustomed to being very wealthy. The daughter, who wants to be this better person. You can see she's like, she cares, right? She wants to be, she doesn't want to be like the rest of them that are so materialistic and this is all they care about and all they think about is just like, they're vapid. They think about nothing. So she decides she wants to join this monastery or, like this in Thailand where they're visiting. They go there. She wants to check it out. She goes and spends a night there. And the harsh reality of what it means to live in a monastery, it's slop, right? It's really not very good food. And she sleeps in this like room that, it's dirty and it's not nice and whatever. So she comes home the next day and her mom this whole time is like, you can't do this. How can you do this? Like, and it's freaking out. But she goes and lets her stay. She comes home. The daughter has to finally kind of tail between the legs admit she was like, the food, I don't think any of it was organic. And she was like, and the bed was
That's your complaint?
right. She's like, the bed was so uncomfortable. And she was like, I just don't think I can do it. And like, but she's struggling with it. She's like, what does this say about me? And I want to be like, you can see this internal battle she's having. And I think that's a real battle that a lot of people have of like, I want to be a better person. I want to give, like, I feel like if there's others suffering, who am I to have all of this? I should have less, whatever, right? Inside of this grotesque story, I actually think there's something really kind of poignant going on there that I think a lot of people, especially with privilege, can understand of like this feeling that we have of like, I have this privilege, I should sacrifice more. Also, like, losing privilege is hard, right? Like I have a sticker on my computer that says, that's from someone has said, like, when you are to the privileged, equality feels like oppression, right? So like this loss of privilege is really hard. And her mom says to her, and I think this sort of feeds into what you're saying here and what I'm thinking about as I hear it, which is we have all this wealth. And for us to not enjoy it, what does that say to everyone who doesn't have wealth? We need to enjoy this wealth because if we don't, we're actually like, we live in a way that almost no one else can. And there's such a gift in that. And if we don't enjoy it, what message are we giving to the rest of those people? It is the most twisted version of this. But you can see that she believes that. Like in her mind, if we aren't enjoying all this that we have, it's like a big F you to people who have nothing.
Yeah.
Which of course in my head, I'm like, or how about this for an idea? You could maybe have less, give a lot of that away, and other people can have something too, right? But that's not in that realm of reality.
Yeah.
So I do think there's something in between that and what you're talking about, like, sure, buy the $1 million house and enjoy it. But also I think only if that's coming with, I do think there has to be some, I don't want to say sacrifice because I don't think it's sacrifice, but I think it's collective thinking. There has to be some collective thinking. And if your thinking is so about only your comfort,
only you,
only your enjoyment of beauty and all of that, without any collective care, that is grotesque. And again, I think that's whether you are those people who have endless wealth, somebody who has $1 million house, or somebody who's even only has a $30,000, like whatever it is. I think the problem is our individualistic thinking, right? And the lack of collective care. Does any of that ring true to you?
It does. It does. Because it's like, listen, if I had the means to buy a $1.5 million house and manage the upkeep without any fear of at some point going into foreclosure because we can't all of a sudden pay our utility bills because we lost a stream of income or something, like I would purchase that house, but it wouldn't just be about me. The house would become a space for people, right? Like I've had this conversation with my wife, or my wife and I to get together collectively have had this conversation multiple times where it's like, we don't, when it comes to our home, like our home is not just for us, it's for our community. Supposed to be a space for our community, whether that means gathering over meals or, having a spare room for someone who might need it, or, or hosting like bonfires, like it's supposed to be like, it's not, we're not looking at things from like this very individualistic perspective. And yes, it's our safe space. It's the space that we feel like is ours, where we can just like let our hair down and just like relax or whatever. And so there are definitely boundaries with that. It's not like totally on the opposite end of the spectrum where it's like, oh, it's a free for all and we don't have any like privacy or any sense of individuality, but like there's a balance there.
Yeah.
I think it gives me the ick when people have a home and then they have friends who are coming to visit and they don't offer a space for someone to stay. You know what I mean? Like something about that is just like in the very, that's like in the very like smallest sense, I think, of like just collective
Yeah.
thinking versus individual thinking. And I get it if there's like a valid reason for that, right? Like if you just don't have the space, or if
Well,
it's
in
at
that
a
million house, you better. But also,
right.
I'm deeply introverted and I don't love people in my space. But
I
there
don't
are,
love people in
I
my
think,
space either.
exceptions. Well,
Yeah.
I think I'm talking, and I think, again, with anything, we can't also ignore the fact that we're coming from two different places around privilege with identity. And so I think I'm speaking to people who share more privilege, right,
Mhm.
around race specifically,
Mhm.
but other types of privilege as well, because I think that makes a difference too, right? What I'm thinking of are these white folks, because these characters in the show were specifically white folks as well. Of course. I mean, that's one of my issues with White Lotus because it focuses on such wealth. It tends to also then focus on a lot of the
Beautiful
white
white
characters.
people,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, and the people I know in my life who then now won't put up any political signs in their yard so as not to disturb the neighbors or cause issues, cause ripples. That's where I'm like, are you voting in ways that protect your new this class that
Mm.
you're in versus the collective, right? Are you no longer using your voice because you don't want to alienate
Mhm.
people in
Mhm.
this other class versus thinking collectively, right? So like, are you now so house poor that you can't even give any money to
Yeah.
the things that matter, right? So like, yeah, I think if you can buy the $1 million house, but you also still have, that's because you have enough money to be giving in ways that
Yeah.
represent your values, right? That you're still using your voice to fight for everyone else, that you're not voting in ways that only support your $1 million home, but those who can't
Mhm.
afford a home. That, I guess, is what I'm saying. But also, I think a lot of that is most incumbent upon those with the most privilege, right?
Mhm.
Whereas
Mhm.
there's this current not debate, but like discussion happening on social media amongst a lot of women specifically, but Black people in general, saying like, we're done. This fight's yours, right? We're done fighting. I'm going to just sit here and say, how do I survive? How can I thrive within the moment? This is your battle to fight, right? We've been fighting. I've been fighting for your rights in addition to mine forever.
Mhm.
And now you're turning it on. Like, why aren't you fighting for your rights with us instead
Mhm.
of seeing it as your fight? And that is so valid, right? And so I think in the same way, if you have been like, if your ancestry has been in a place of like fighting just to be able to survive, and now you're able to afford $1 million home and your family can have safety and peace and comfort and rest and all of that, like, I'm not here as somebody with privilege and with white privilege to say, no,
You
you need to
shouldn't
do
have
what,
that. Yeah.
right? Like, no, I'm speaking very much to people who have the most privilege. With that privilege does
Yeah.
come that responsibility to say, I need to be thinking collectively because historically, anyone who's looked like me has not thought collectively.
Mhm.
Whereas folks who look like you have thought collectively, right? Historically, out of necessity, right? For
Yeah.
safety and protection. And the absolute opposite was true for the white folks who have not thought collectively for the exact same reason, to preserve power, right? And so I think now it's like, I think that has to also be part of any discussion around like wealth, which is why I think, as much as Beyonce's wealth also annoys me, right? I'm much more fixated on Taylor's wealth and or Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and
Yeah.
like all
Yeah.
the white folks
Because of
amassing wealth.
their
Because for
ancestral.
every one Rihanna or Beyonce, there are endless more white
Yeah.
folks. And let's
Yeah.
fight the real fight first. And then we can talk about,
Yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. Whew.
Well, how do you want to end this conversation?
I think I want to end this conversation by reminding people, consider what is enough
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
And remember, it's about iteration, right? Like, how are you iterating your means of survival in a way that's expansive, not just staying on that hamster wheel, right? And in order to iterate, you have to start small. Like, you cannot go big and expect to be able to iterate, because going big is going to take all your fucking energy and you're not going to have anything left to
And it's not
iterate.
going to work.
And it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
You're not changing Trump's mind. You're not changing the hearts of the Senate folks who have been bought and paid for by corporations. Like, we're not changing Taylor Swift either, as much as I'm harping on her. We're not changing her. It's clear.
Yeah, but we might change our neighbor.
I might change a
who
Swiftie.
is obsessed with Taylor Swift, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's important. And I would just add that to say, with the enough, yes, and challenge yourself about why enough feels like a bad thing. If that idea of enough feels limiting to you, I would really challenge yourself to think about why. Because I think for many of us it does. So there's not a judgment in there. It is like an invitation to explore that and to do some unpacking there, because I think we have been made to feel that way. And then on the piece of iterating, I just would say too, like, even if it feels like you've asked the same question 1,000 times, what can I do? What change can I do? Keep asking it. It's not, like you said, it's not a hamster wheel. It is allowing the space around that is needed for answers to eventually begin to appear. It's when we stop asking that the problem is going to really, that's the problem. So,
Yeah. I like what you said about enough, like, interrogating why sometimes that might feel like scarcity. Because when you ask yourself, you decide for yourself what is enough, right? If you have an idea of what enough is and it feels like scarcity, then move the line.
Yeah. But if there is never an end to that line, ask yourself why. Like, what does that say?
Yeah.
Is that how you want to show up in the world?
Yeah.
Because also, it's that hedonic treadmill, right?
Mm-hmm.
That if you can never be satiated, you will never be satiated. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
That, to me, is where the scarcity lies.
Yeah.
The idea that I could never be content.
Yeah. That nothing is ever enough.
Yeah. So, all right.
Then you're reaching for nothing. So.
Yes. All right. Listen, I didn't know what we were going to talk about. We did it. In fact, we did a lot. And it was really good. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to Messy Liberation.
Will you please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen?
I know people say that all the time. And if you're like me, often you just go on to the next podcast. But truly, taking that moment to do that will really help us reach a wider audience.
Thank you so much for your support and for listening today.
Until next time.